And we're back. There you go. Apologies. For some reason, it does not like trying to stream at the rate I'm trying to stream at. Minor problems. But yes, I did not get scabbed at all, and it was delightful. I was expecting to get fucked over. But no, I do have 2,500 confirmed. You can, I believe. I don't think I'm able to yet. Because I may have saw some goodies earlier. Right. So where are these hooligans? Churchill, you found nothing. Oh, we can walk that. Shut up, Churchill. He hasn't found love. I can guarantee that much. He's on the tight lead, that boy. Well, I thought he was on the tight lead. And why hasn't that worked either? Things are breaking. What? Why is that not working? Okay, never mind. Minor problems. I'm sure he will appear at some point. See, there he is.
Oh, sorry there.
You will be. The fuck? Oh, hooligans! It's clobbering time. Once I found your address, that is, anyway.
What? Fucking hide from me! You're dead!
Oh, get fucked. Nine times out of 10, it's gonna be a pillow. Come on. Looking very spicy here.
Think you're tough? Come on!
I don't think you're tough. You're as tough as Gandhi's flip-flop. So where did the other guy go? Out there. Cattle proddy time. Why didn't that work? Be hat. But now it works. Stupid fucking thing. Huh?
Hearing shit. Someone there?
The fuck was that?
Oh, there's quite a few here.
Who's there?
Me.
Aha!
Surprise!
Are you kidding me?
Oh, that's a lot of people. Hello. Oh, fuck.
Oh no, come back! I was having fun.
Yeah, I wasn't. I just blew myself up.
Yeah. Here come the fireworks. Shit.
Yeah, you may as well kill me.
Give up now. I'll make it quick.
Cover me!
I'll cover you.
Ow.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Lasts longer than most, I'll give him that.
There's 8.
Who's there?
Me.
What the?
Hello.
Times.
Surprise! Where'd you go? Surprise! Oh, I missed.
Yeah.
Hello.
You feel that? It's called fear.
No, it's not. Peekaboo. I reckon 12. I reckon 12. Oh, fuck. Ow, ow. Okay, no, you're actually getting a bit too spicy for my liking. I've got bullets too.
Just getting started.
I'm just not using them. Hey, Angel Kitty. Thank you very much for the follow. Hope you're doing good. Wait, Edwina the Silent. Oh, is that a boss? Was a boss. Let's be right, dog. You'll get up in a minute. You reckon 12's the minimum? What do you reckon the maximum's going to be? I like to think that I won't die a lot at all.
Think you can win this?
Yes, I do. I do think I can win this. Fuck. Too much. I've got 3 combat shotguns. Nice. I'm a hoarder. You know, just the quest a bit too early. Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, I don't think it was a boss, though. Because, I don't know, it didn't feel like a boss. But at the same time, you know, I'm an idiot. I don't need the mace. The mace is... No, that can go. That can go as well. Let's go with spicy stick. Health. Well, that's not a spicy stick problem. You reckon 40? Well, you know what? I don't like you anymore. Yeah, teamwork. Teamwork, doggo. Yes. You're my fellow facility bitch. So yes, I like you. You maybe question my sanity sometimes, but I like you. A zap machine gun. Fuck yes. Don't know what it does, but we'll find out. Sorry, Cricket Bat. You think you... No. I'm not going to use the truncheon, am I? What's that thing do then? Ooh, this looks fun. Who wants to feel my wrath?
Just give up.
You give up. Where the fuck are you all?
You better be worth it. Yeah.
I walked into the grenade. Bingo! How's it doing, dude? How on earth are you? I've made you a little something. I'm doing really good, thanks, dude. Really good. Apart from Lyndon and Connor bullying me.
Yeah. Why don't you just die?
Oh. Oh, we've got a death counter here now as well. Oh. Character building. I'll see how it is. Oh, I've got to do all that again. I best get that gun again.
Hearing shit.
Huh? Hearing shit. Huh? Hearing shit.
You're mine now.
The fuck?
How much you got left in you?
That's a question you don't want to ask on Onyx. Fuck off! Why can't I hit you?
Dead. You hear me?
You're dead. Well, we're only one away from double digits. I mean, she's just going to go straight downhill from here. Well, he's already disappeared to go hump someone, which was very inconvenient. And I think I've accidentally entered a boss battle.
Getting tired yet?
Nope. Covering fire. What are you covering?
You're nothing. Nothing.
Thanks. I get told that a lot. Surprise! Go on, Churchill. Fuck him up. You sound like you want a 12 gauge to the face. Just like that. Not even any use to me. I don't think it is. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. No, where's my rifle? Fuck.
Sometime, arsehole.
No, I want that. God, I'll be lost without that. Oh, Churchill's covered in ketchup. You rage quit Minecraft. How? Why? What did you do? What didn't you do?
Be quick.
Oh, were you just grunting like a man?
You feel that? It's called fear.
I don't think so. Wait, where was that gun? That's where it was. That's fair enough. That will probably make me want to rage quit as well. Good thing you're not doing a hardcore world, because that would have really pissed me off. Mariachi! Oh, just bear with me. Keep inventory is boring because it makes the game less challenging.
I got all day.
What the fuck? The fuck was that? Is it in this game? I keep hearing it. I've got to Google that because each time I hear it, it makes me shit myself. Okay, no. So there's something on my PC that keeps telling me a nuclear launch has been detected. And it keeps throwing me off. Are you playing at a YouTuber server? Eat that! I have a grenade. I do. Say hello to my little friend. Fine, we sacrificed for Doggo as well. Don't really want that, to be honest.
Just die.
Very nice. It's not that great either. That's not that great either. I'll drop that. There's going to be someone bugged here. I can just see it happening now.
Don't quit, do you?
Nope, I do not. The fuck? Miss. Oh no. Hey, got him. Ow, my ear. Cheers, dude, for the hydrate. Hope you're doing good. Alright, what's up here? Or is it literally going to be nothing? There's potential for goodies. Well, that is, but I'm taking it. Taking that as well. I don't need a second service rifle. But I'm going to take it. Yeah, I'm not doing too bad, thanks, dude. Not too bad. I've got level ups. I don't have any level ups. We're currently clearing out some hooligans. And Churchill's being annoying. As per usual. Nice, nice, nice. What are you carrying? Oh. We're not going to hit 40 deaths. Point blank refuse. Okay, I'm actually very encumbered. I'm not going to use that, am I? Drop that. Not going to use that either. Not going to use that. Not going to use that. Well, I can sell one of them, so that's why I want to keep it. Not going to use that. Just loot and fuck off. Ah, the fuck? You sneaky fucker. That's very sneaky. You prick. You are prickier than a prick. I'll get up there. No, okay, never mind. Tickets, tickets, tickets. I don't want a lunchbox. Tickets, please, tickets. Tickets, tickets, no tickets. Seriously, not a single ticket? Well, that's just depressing. I am such a loot goblin. Just nothing useful. What's that? I've got a battery. Definitely gonna need it. I'm gonna take it. Alright, what bloody mess did I cause in here? I've already looted you. I'm not gonna waste a... Yeah, I am gonna waste a pin. You just know I'm gonna waste a pin. Not worth it. You know, I'm gonna use him as a meat shield. So you can never be repaired. We can get in the fucking oil drum. He doesn't want to go into the oil drum. God damn it. Clickety-clack. I don't want to fit, and I can't force it. Otherwise I would force it. Come on, goodies. Nope. Not worth it. Tickets, tickets, tickets. No, you're not. Shut up. Be nice to me. I'm just a simple onyx. Oh. Oh, don't tease me. God damn it. I want the iron brew. Dead man. I want the iron brew. Apparently I'm not allowed iron brew. It's not like, you know, I have a kilt. But no, clearly not enough. Really? This is just asking to be unlocked. Okay, useful. 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 Useful if I can sell it. You're shit. You're shit. I'm not naked yet, so it's a win. And yes, Pingu, I also got 2,500 tickets yesterday, which makes me a very happy Onyx. Fuck, I pressed the wrong button. You have no head, you have no head. That's when you know I've been down here, because there's no heads. Just want to make sure I'm not leaving any loot behind. Oh, a free head? I can't take. But it's huge. Oh. Fuck! You! Oh yeah, go attack! Attack! I can hear something crawling. That's out of the park. Yes, good dog. No, I'm not dying to you. Go away. You're fine, Churchill. You're fine. Oh! I thought I just detonated that. Right. Tickets, 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 please. Tickets. For some reason, I need a broom. And for some reason, that makes me encumbered. Yeah, look, nearly at 3k. It's huge. Right, I need to sacrifice another gun. I don't use that to warrant it. What's it worth? Yeah, I don't use it enough to warrant it. Still missed. Sorry, dog meat. Not dog meat. Churchill, you do that. Really? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? I lost my basketball. And no, I'm not happy about that. Oh, yeah, she did something useful. It's why I play rugby, alright? Leave me alone. See, that 7 to 8k of tickets is valuable to me. It's like gold dust. I really wish this would stop giving me guns. Just sell. I can't dunk. That's why I play puck. Can you now take some stuff off me? Like all my junk? Be useful? And maybe 2 of those? No, you are one shit dog. See, no, you misinterpret fat fuckers. That's how easy to spot someone to tackle. I don't think there's anything else down there, is there? Nope. Well, I think we have fully looted this place. So let go. Well, I thought that was it, but clearly it was not. Melon! Ooh. That's a 6. I've never seen one before. You don't forget, it rugby hurts. Been it before, haven't I? Yeah, let's lose round. I'd say that's a good job. Oh. Death counter. Currently on 9. Doodle thinks I'm going to hit 40. Linda thinks I'm going to hit 12. I'm going to go with Lyndon. You're very close. I'm going to make it more interactive as well. So when it happens, I want to do it so something happens to my camera. Like, Pingu inspired me to do this yesterday. But no. I'm not going to show. I'm going to wait for a surprise, actually. Incentive. I give stuff away. I mean, you could bet on it if you want. I mean, it's not an IRL. Yeah, see, I feel like I need to do more, What? Yeah, I'm already here, you fucking idiot. I need to do some more channel commands. I used to have loads. But they all broke. That's saying up. There's no one there. I'm going to die. Yeah, stop barking! Stop yapping! We're all about stealth. We're all about stealth, Churchill.
What the hell was that?
Never you mind what the hell was that. Holy fuck. Oh. I wasn't trying to. I feel like I have to attack you now. I'm sorry. I'm going to die. I missed every shot. You got it. You absolutely have it. When I next die... Oh, fuck, we're both reloading. I can't see where people are shooting me from. Why can't I move? I'm trying to spot you. Where are they? What? Well, that's 10. Get fucked, Lyndon. Do you want that, Pingu? I'll make that for you right now. There you go. Your request, you have. Shut up! Congratulations, you have wasted 250 points. Also, Pingu, I made you a VIP as well. Not sure if you noticed. No, honestly, for what you did yesterday, mate, it's the least I could have done. Ah, fuck me! Ow! Stop stabbing me, you fucks!
With a sauce. Yes, you will.
You're gonna look nice with a 12 gauge.
I think I'll call you Lunch.
I don't know what you're gonna call me now.
Meat hook with your name on it. Ah, what a delicious
Ow.
looking neck.
Get fucked. You know what, actually, let's go and sell stuff before I do anything else, because I could do with quite a few things. I know, right? I got all giddy, all excited. Mmm, toasty onyx with a bit of sauce. Mm-hmm. Spit my eye. Ugh. Right. What's King Cross? I don't want Camden. I want Islington. Fuck, where was Central London in this? Was it Westminster? No, what Trafalgar Square either. Where the fuck was I yesterday? Not Thames Haven. I love how he's wasting all the points now. There you go. So I'm not comfy, so I'm going to slash back down. Well, see, you say that. See, I got this set up for gifted subs because I thought, well, I thought of it and I thought it looked really cool, but I don't think that would come down. So I might just change it to a channel point instead. What it was this. How cool is that? Literally, GIF bombing. Get it? I'm gonna do a few of them for bits as well, I think. Ten deaths. We started on 7. Fuck. Enjoying all those emotes, right? A rip. I need to get some Fallout ones made. Yeah, man. That's not my emote. What the hell's that one? Big sad. Big sad. Ah, yes, this is where I wanted to be. There was a market somewhere around here, weren't there? It was up. I wasn't against it, you know. It actually helped load this. This isn't the right place I wanted to go to. Was it outside the wall? Might have been outside that little bitch. I know it broke a lot of the mods for Fallout. So it broke the script extender. The good poison gut. I prefer this to smoking. Unless it's a festival, then I'll smell like a fucking chimney. But loading screens are painful. Oh, also, I can't remember who it was who mentioned it yesterday about power armor and settlements. I think it might have been you, Rip. But I did find a mod that enhances the settlements, and there's also a power armor mod. I didn't realise there was fucking loads and loads and loads. There was actually a fair amount of them now. So what I'll do is, on this playthrough, I'll see if I can get them working. Yeah, that's the only bad thing about these. I do end up using them non-stop. Like, I was in the office a few weeks ago, and I just went like that casually, just at my desk, and I was like, wait, I'm not home. Fuck.
Yep, don't
Yep.
mind me.
I won't mind you. Where's dog? Being a dog. Dog, be a dog. Chase rabbits. Lucky rabbits. Right, where's that gunman? I want to buy all your ammo. But first, dog. Dog. Where dog? There, dog. Yeah, it is. It's a very bad habit to have. Like a very, very bad habit to have. No, just come here. Oh. Because we'll sell. Oh no, you can keep your armor. I don't want that armor. Where's the dog armor? This sounds like one of those Glory Glory Man United songs. Don't like that. I need something for you guys to spend your points on, don't I? I need to sort it quickly.
Take a look.
Oh, I will. No flame ammo. Oh, there is flame ammo. Pyromaniac Onyx on his way. Get fucked. I'm nearly on 3k tickets, I'll have you know. I don't want to get rid of the cavalry stuff. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to go back to my little home. Dump all this stuff. We'll get rid of 2 of you. Probably won't benefit you at all. Get rid of 2 of you. Don't need a torch. I like that gun, so I'm going to keep it. That's pretty shit, but I'm going to keep it anyway. Tyler, get fucked. Why can't you wait for winter? What's so special about winter for you? It's not too bad in here at the moment. I've got a fan here, literally blowing directly into my face. It's delightful. I run hot all year round. I could buy that. What do you mean no mushrooms in winter? You have mushrooms in winter? I so want to waste 1,500 on that. Has he got 5-man ammo? Only 16 rounds, so it's not really worth it, is it? At all. Exactly. Well, I'm pretty sure Doodle probably has mushrooms growing underneath his desk. With all AC going. Oh, we have snow. Obviously, we have snow. It's a silly, silly thing to say. What weapons do you have? I do have a crude launcher back at my base. What was that? Oh, muzzled. Yeah, don't do that though. That will hurt a lot. Look at you! Saw that flex tape guy. I don't think he has anything else that I want actually. No, so we've got flame fuel, which makes me very happy. I'm just wasted 1,500 tickets straight off the bat.
Farewell.
Farewell, good sir. I'm going to steal 2 of your bobby pins. Hope you don't mind. Right, let's go to Covent Garden. Maybe that's right there. Eating sandpaper is a bit extreme, Rip. That's very extreme. Look at that photo. Wait. Okay. It's a cigarette roller. Give me your goodies. No, come here. Let's empty you out. Because he's Scottish. How else? Human. A 3 a.m. kebab does hit hard. I will give you that. A 3 a.m. kebab slaps. $69 Grip. That's Rip's favourite. So I think what weapons I need. Well, what I think I'm going to need in it anyway. We'll take that out for a spin. For a spinneroony. We'll say that. Don't need any more aid. We have plenty of aid. I think. I will get 2 more of you though. An ice cold you. Magic milk. Rip would be all over that. Royd. That's a bit of doodle. Gotta go rough. See, I told you. I was only 9 off. One thing I do need to get actually is a dig toll. Let's go over to Thameshaven Market. See the dock. Stop wasting your points, guys. Hold on. Let me see if I can. What I do have, I can give you. What random shit can I give you? I've got something I'm going to set you boys up for a challenge for. State today. Tell you what, you have 12 days to do this. There you go, little challenge for you. But you all feel horrible for wasting your points now, do you? Fuck. You went all in.
Need help?
It's not a bit much at all. Wait, what did I set it at? Yeah, 25,000 isn't a lot at all. You've got 12 days to reach 25,000. I'm already at 6. See, that's not long at all.
I might have what you're looking for.
And then what I'll do as well is I'll make it a bit interesting. Exactly. But Pingu still decides to waste it. You're all a bunch of fuckers, but I love you.
One day, I'll take my
Fix me, Doc. I'm broken.
One day.
Oh no, I'll stream.
Let's take a look
But
at
I
you.
do have to disclose that my missus is back here on the Wednesday.
Take care.
I don't know, can you? Maybe I need to increase it.
They call us sea devils, warriors of the deep. Monsters.
A fresh dry land.
Just leave us alone.
What are you buying?
Oh, of course, yeah, you don't accrue points, but you can still spend them. Oh dear, maybe I fucked up there.
Weapons it is. Blunt, sharp, or shooty.
But you must want to watch, so as long as you guys are happy watching me be an absolute idiot, I'll provide the entertainment. That's just not nice. Look, I understand the whole, you know, let's watch the streamer suffer. Oh, come on. That is true. You did wait quite a while. I will give you that. Oh, TNT. You don't have no flame fuel though, so that makes me sad. What does that need? That needs 280. Oof. Right, I've got all the ammo now. I mean, to be fair, as long as you guys are happy, I will do this all day long.
They're delicious.
Right, let's go back to... Camden. I'll make you a deal. Right, okay. After today's stream, I will make it my mission to give you some way of using your channel points. Whether that be through interactiveness, channel gambling, but I will try and keep it Fallout themed. All on black, bet. Ugh. Or instead of making it 24 hours, no. There is one thing I've always wanted to try actually. Pull it all on waste. Pinky does always pull it on green. Don't crouch. Sprint, boy! That's not my vape. That's my vape. I just need to think of ways I can utilize the channel points for you. Like, especially thinking of ways where you guys can mess up how I play. Like, I know for a fact I can't put on there... Well, there are cooldowns. So I could put down drop a weapon. that I could be holding my favourite weapon and you force me to drop it. Which I will say now will make Onyx very sad. This chair don't really go up and down, unfortunately. A wheel, what? You say a wheel of weapons. Play on the floor. Do you want to see how that would look? Hold on. I'm going to show you how that would look for me, okay? If I was to play on the floor, I'd be like this. But, you know. And I don't think my knees will be very graceful. Ah, fuck. Stompy little Onyx. Listen here, you. Get fucked. Lyndon, you cheeky fuck. Yeah, I could do that, actually. That's a good idea, actually, Pingu. Drop me a message with that, please, so I don't forget that, so I don't lose it. But what if I do switch over to something else by accident? What would be a punishment, per se? Lyndon, he does that by himself. He doesn't need people to tell me to do that. Waste your stim pack, you fucking criminal. That's like the worst thing you could suggest. Fuck yeah. Or take all chems. So I become addicted to fucking everything. That could work. That'd be horrible as well.
Yeah, I
was really horrible.
at first, but polycule might be the way to go. We seem to get on bad unless we see each other.
Mate, I was addicted to dog food when I first started playing. I don't need to be addicted again. Yeah, see, I did the fucking repair kit by myself by accident.
Really?
That was really annoying. That was really annoying.
Quite a few of them. It's not that. Okay, maybe it was that. I'm sorry I misjudged you. It's clear to me now that you're someone who means business. I respect that. So, Pistol's membership. Are you interested?
Mate, that would be such a ball ache to set up. See, my ultra wide is that, and my main is, and my other ones is that, and that's fucking on so many settings.
I'm not a big fan of all. What would you like to know?
Doodle, goth. I don't really care about the history.
So, are you interested?
I mean, I can see if I can do it as like a hot command. I'll deal with it somehow. How about I play upside down? Oh, that'd be brutal. Imagine me trying to play. Imagine me trying to play like this. Hold on. Imagine me trying to play. No, not like that. Like that. But I'll have my monster turn around upside down. I could do the mod one.
Splendid.
The mod one could be interesting, but it'd have to be compatible within Fallout London. And not a lot of mods are compatible.
I'd like you to speak to Palmyra Romero and Captain Reasonable. They've both been having issues. Maybe you can help them?
That's what you want? You want me to hang from the ceiling?
Palmyra works in hydroponics. The captain should be around Camden Town Station.
You know what, Lyndon? I used to like you quite a bit.
It's best to let them explain. It's as much for you as it is for us. Think of this as a trial run.
You just
don't
seem
need
like
to
that.
agree
Just-
with all of
just
us
hanging off the
ideologically
ceiling.
on everything. Blimey, that would be impossible. However, there are some fundamentals we do need to
But
agree
she
on.
sleeps on the ceiling.
Then I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Oh, I'm sure we will. Oh! Your dream. You're all horrible to me. Oh no, I'm gonna walk that. That's not too far. I'm not that lazy. At least my dog's here this time.
Can't believe we've got another meeting tonight. It's
I know, can't
interminable
believe we've got another meeting. All the fucking meetings. But no, I'm gonna go in now. Was we down here? Oh, in there, around the park. Hello. Ah, yes. How inconspicuous. Let me just perk here. Did I offend you?
Nice to meet you. I'm Raymond, though most around here call me Captain Reasonable.
Captain Reasonable.
Straight to business, fantastic.
Right?
It's actually pretty simple. There's a
What a
cache
knob.
of guns in a police station in Lewisham. Need you to hop over there and fetch them for me. Sound doable? I'll even throw in a monkey to make it worth your while.
Well,
Game.
fuck you.
I'll even sign you an endorsement.
Ooh.
Legend.
Legend. Dog's yakking. It's combat time. Where is it? Where's Lewisham? You? We need to make a note. Yeah, probably. Let me go turn my lights on quick. It's getting a bit dark. Oh, I'm sure you want to see me lose. I thought I got the doctor to cure me before I left Thames Haven. Why am I still addicted? He conned me. He cured my addictions, or unless I got him to cure my rads, because I don't have rads anymore. Going to Greenwich. Abtots! How the devil are you doing, my friend? How you doing, dude? Fallout London. I promised so many people I would come back. And lo and behold, he has returned. Good, good. Good to hear, mate. Good to hear. Are you streaming tonight? Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. I've been shown a lot of love. A lot of love. I didn't expect so many people to come back and, you know, carry on watching me. But I've been shown a lot of love. Be back on tomorrow. I presume you're playing Armour. If not Armour, probably Crusader Kings, I'm guessing. Let's go straight down there. No, we don't. Straight down there. Yeah, I noticed that you bounce quite a bit between a few games. But, you know, normal thing to do sometimes. As long as what you play you're happy with, that is all that matters. You deserve to be in that pot. Let me in the bush. Let me up the bush. Yeah, see, I tend to have these fixations where I'll go from one game, then another game for a bit. But it's always long periods. Like, I loved playing this when it first came out. But because of how buggy it was, I struggled. Like, if it's not Foxhole, it's this at the moment. And if it's not this, it'd be Foxhole. But at the moment, Foxhole is very repetitive and it's getting a bit tedious. You know, so I don't want to burn myself out too much. I'm gonna go for another fucking wall. Oh, I'm fucking sick to death of going through these fucking walls. Oh no, this thing has been my baby throughout this entire playthrough. It has saved my bacon many a time. Your time will come, mate. And I'm pretty sure everyone from 104 will follow you behind as well. I know sure for shit, I will 100% be fighting alongside of you. If I'm not being a facility slave. Well, they're a bit savage. You boys are fucking nasty. Get fucked. You gremlin looking thing. Oh, fuck. Let's not stop to read. Not when there's a Radshrew around. Fuck yeah. I think if I'm crazy about stone playing for how. Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing I've kind of noticed as well. I'm in the Sigil Discord and it's just fucking insane sometimes. Yeah, everyone's kind of... We've kind of done a nuclear race war at the moment, haven't we, in Foxhole? It's been nuke after nuke after nuke after nuke. It's been insane. It's been good fun though. But yes, Doodle, we will 100% be doing facility stuff. BT stuff most likely. Yeah, that's because people see Foxhole as, you know, a second job almost. I used to be like that. But nowadays, it's too much. It's too overwhelming, and it doesn't move at a pace that's logical in my eyes. You know, the wars go on for way too long. And the amount of hours I've invested in a short amount of time is just unhealthy as well. It's like there was a time where I'd spend equally 19 hours a day on it. Just doing the same repetitiveness repeatedly, and it just got too tedious. It's why I'm playing very intermittently. Come on, Lewisham. Why can't I go in there? Oh. Well, because I've taken it easy for the past 2 wars, you know, I don't mind doing facility stuff per se. But it's when you do facility, you know, BT tank production every single war, it knackers you out, mate. Honestly, it's too much. BTs are fun. Break streamers too. Well, exactly. You know, and you know, I kind of have a feeling that's what's happening with Berg at the moment. Fortunately for him, his channel is booming. No, he's gaining some amazing viewership, and I can't knock him. He is doing really well being a Foxhole streamer. But it's like when anyone dives anywhere, you know, different to a different game, their viewership tends to go slightly bit higher, or it crashes, like you said. No, it's like Cronus, for example. You could see him stream Foxhole, and he'll be in, you know, passing 120. Streams anything else, straight down. It's a shame. That is the biggest pile of bullshit I've heard. You deserve partner since I've met you, my friend. You are one of the best streamers I know. Am I? What the fuck?
Excuse me, manners. Never should have come here. That better? Right then, funny cunt. 1,000 tickets says you can't do this. Simple premise. You take this sack to the top of that tower. If you survive, you keep all the ticks in the footlocker up there.
Bet.
If you don't, well then, it's quite obvious that I win. You game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, at one point you were known as a Foxhole streamer, but on the side of that, you've managed to build yourself such a nice little community that's so welcoming. it's, you know, that doesn't happen to everyone. And, you know, that alone has proved that you don't need to be in Foxhole to be able to get, you know, to be able to sustain a viewership. Like all your viewers, I'd imagine, just so a majority of them would have been initially Foxhole. But it's like, you know, I met you through Foxhole originally, but I still followed you throughout because I like your content. You know, some people just watch Foxhole, that's it, nothing else. Fuck everyone else. But it's why it's like, I don't mind streaming Foxhole, but I don't know, it's very hit or miss. Like I enjoy playing this more, personally.
Now, have you got the foggiest idea what's going on in here, or what?
What is it
God
the sack
knows.
though?
Just the heaviest shit around here that I could find. Basically useless junk.
He's gonna fuck me over.
Just head straight down this road until you reach the other side of that tower. You can't miss it. Just go up, plonk it down, voila.
Easy money.
See? Now that's the spirit. Now, do you understand the bleeding rules, or don't you? You make your way there and get the sack to the other side of that tower. If you survive, you win. If you don't, I win. Now, if you backtrack and don't immediately do it, I'll kill you.
Yeah, see,
Bend the rules, or I think you're bending the rules. I'll
thank
kill
you
ya.
for that.
If you
Obviously,
forget where you're going, I'll
Foxhole
kill ya.
is a very
In
toxic
fact,
community.
you're gonna have to work very
You,
hard to stay alive, mate.
I'm not sure
About 30 seconds
how much you've been involved with Sigil and stuff, but my God, Sigil is toxic as fuck sometimes. I've been called everything underneath the sun, including in game. But you know, it's one of those. But I appreciate those kind of words, dude. I really do. Yeah, Pingu is the reason. Is the main reason why I'm streaming it. Because I started it, I disappeared for 8-9 months, not a word, and I got a message every single day, pretty much saying, when's this? When's the stream? When's the stream?" It is straight up school bullshit. Right, I don't even know what I need to do here. Actually, it just says something about a bag.
Don't worry. As soon as you start proper, I'll give you some leeway to get out.
Where's the
back
bag?
inside.
Wait, I'm confused. Where's this bag? I need to grab. You're gonna start shooting me. I don't know why. I'm so confused. Apparently, I was meant to run somewhere with a sack I was meant to pick up. Well, I don't know why you're attacking me. I don't know what the fuck it is I was meant to be picking up. But I can't want to do that quest, so... Alright, I'll count it as a death, just for you, Lyndon. We're now on 11 deaths. Ah. He doesn't say where the bag is. He just says, pick up the bag. Where? Bruh, where's the fucking bag? I have your thanks. I'm going to cherish your thanks. So much. Your thanks lives in my heart forever. No, I do need to remember to save before I enter that gate. If I fuck this up again, I don't quite know what I'm going to do now. Yeah, see, I get that, Pingu. I do get that. I've got a very toxic relationship with that game. You know, I love some people in that game. They're, you know, some people are just amazing to play with. Like, I met you through there. You know, I met Doodle. I met Lyndon. No, it's just, there's always one or two people who will always ruin certain things for you. But I'll never let that get you, you know, get me down personally. The load times are painful. Always lags through this bit as well. We won't worry about those rat shrews. Yeah, don't worry about it, Churchill. You can see your balls, I've just realised. 2 little plums. Yeah, they are a bit nostalgic, aren't they? But it's fine. Thank God for fibre internet. Right, what's this guy saying?
Oh, you! Got a wager for you.
You dropped your lamp, you dickhead.
Yeah, I am. We all make a living, so what? Right then, funny cunt. 1,000 tickets says you can't do this.
So delightful.
Simple premise. You take this sack to the top of that tower. If you survive, you keep all the ticks in the footlocker up there. If you don't, well then, it's quite obvious that I win. You game? Now, have you got the foggiest idea what's going on in here, or what?
Nope. Hello? My dog's attacking you, I'm sorry. My dog's biting you. I can't do anything about it. I'm bugged. Cheers, Churchill. I didn't even get a choice. I'm not fully bugged. What the fuck? Well, thanks for the goodies. I wish I could do something here, but it turns out I can't. Lyndon, I'm not counting that as a death. Before you start piping up. My dog literally just decided that then was the time to kill a random enemy. He weren't even hostile to me. I knew. I just knew what you were gonna say. I knew. We're not doing that. I gave you a death on the first time round. Right, dog. Churchill, come here. Stay. We're not going to get to 30 in one stream. Well, I fucking hope we're not. Right, first things first. What fucking bag are you referring to? You did say 19.
Oh, you! Got a wager for you. Yeah, I am. We all make a living, so what? Right then,
Oh.
funny cunt.
Thanks.
1,000 tickets says you can't do this. Simple premise. If you don't... Now, have you got the foggiest idea what's going on in here, or what?
Nope.
Basically. Fat nose. Just the heaviest shit around here that I could find. Basically useless junk.
It's done it again. I just want to take this man's sack. But it's not letting me take this man's sack. Look, dude, I want to take your sack, alright? But the game isn't letting me take your sack. The game is just point blank refusing to let me take his sack. This might be one of those bugged quests, but I need to go through here. There is no other way. Stay. Churchill has got a sack. Maybe it's his sack I need to take. Come on, let's get this over with. Attempt number... What's this? 3?
Oh, you! Got a
Yeah,
wager
hello.
for- Yeah,
Yeah.
I am.
I want to... Yes, I want to do your quest.
Right then, funny. Simple premise. If you don't... Now, have you got the... Basically. Fat nose. Basically.
Yeah, I know.
See? Now that's the spirit. Now, do you understand the bleeding rules, or don't you? You make your way there and get the sack to the other side of that tower. If
It
you
looks like he's
survive,
facing
you
that
win.
way.
If you don't, I win. Now, if you backtrack and don't immediately do it, I'll kill you.
You won't know.
If you bend the rules, or I think you're bending the rules, I'll kill you. If you forget where you're going, I'll kill you. In fact, you're going to have to work very hard to stay alive, mate.
I don't think I am.
About 30 seconds to pick it up and get moving before I start shooting. Don't worry. As
Yeah.
soon as you start proper,
Where's the
it's the only
bag?
way to get out of my fucking sight.
Is it behind you? No, I'm just going to just leg it, see what happens. Oh, there's the bag. I tried! Right. Well, now I know where the bag is. Oh, lordy lord. Hey, Tom. How's it going, dude? Hope you're doing good. We're on 11 deaths. There. No, I'm not dead, technically. Maybe I should have 2. How many respawns and how many deaths? I mean, 11 times in 4 streams, I don't think is that bad. It could be a hell of a lot worse. Alright, dog, you can come with me now. Oh, no, you can't. Stay. I am to you if I fail again. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm dead to you? That's a bit harsh. Come on.
Oh, you!
Yeah, I'm here.
Got a wager for you.
Sure thing. I'll do your job for you.
Yeah, I am. Right then, funny. Simple premise. If you don't... Now, basically... See? Now that's the spirit. Now, do you understand the bleeding? You make your way there. Now, if you bend the rules, if you forget what you... In fact, you have about 30 seconds to pick it up and get moving before I start shooting.
I ain't fucking around this time.
What the fuck was that?
Oh, fuck me. It is very heavy. What a cunt. Where am I taking it? Why's my light flickering? Take the sack to the top of the construction site. Up there? Oh. This ain't gonna go well, is it? Oh, you fucking arse. That's not very fair. Oh, I should not have done this. I could just use this. That works. This is fucking cruel. I can't even see what half of them are fucking shooting me from.
place eventually.
Something before they bash your head in.
Ah, you set yourself on fire, you dickhead. How much you want to bet, Lyndon? I bet 1 gifted sub. That I won't die.
Made a big mistake.
250 Monopoly money. Alright, bet.
Ain't personal. Just you or me.
He did say to the top, didn't he? You think I should... I actually don't have any cheese, Tom. Oh...
She's down.
Give up.
She's gonna fuck me up. No, don't stab me anymore, you bitch!
Give up now. Quick.
Oh, that's very close. Who the fuck has a shotgun? Who's a brave fucker?
You like the sight of your own blood.
We can go across the road. We'll go to Domino's. Please be friendly. Please be friendly. Please be friendly. You fucking cunt! How'd you like it? I'm so happy I picked up this fucking flamethrower again. Wait, what? Bail the Lost Tommies. Oh, that was the quest line I wanted to do. Lyndon, how much would you hate me?
You better be worth it.
Oh. What do you mean, yes? But it's a mission you guys might want to see. Tell you what, how about I add on 3 deaths to go back? I wanted to see it. You sure? How about, tell you what, I'll add on 1. I'll keep it fair in both parts. ATD! I've added 1, Lyndon. But show cat. My cats are downstairs sleeping. How you doing, ATD? They're all curled up. For fuck's sake. Do you want me to go get a cat? I will go. I will go get a cat. That's only fair. So. I have cat. That is stuck to me. Hello. Let's skip you up. Cato. Come to see Cato. The people have requested cat. The cat they shall have. There you go. Are you happy? You have cat? Ah. There you go. Are you happy? Wait, where's that quest? So, it turns out I didn't have to skip. I didn't have to go back. What command? What command was added? Eat cheese is the new command. I will get that command sorted for you for next stream, Tom. You have my word. Who did it? ATD did it. Okay. I shall add that. Yeah, so it turns out I didn't actually need to quit that quest. So it sounds like one of those quests. I have something on my face. What's on my face? You mean this? This spot? This right here? What? You mean the gentry of Lewisham? Oh, so annoying. I've got to do that fucking thing all over again. Dog, stop, stay. It's penis shaped. What? What? I've got something on my face. It's penis shaped. I have no idea what you are referring to there. No, the answer is not Tatooine. We're not doing a Star Wars quiz right now. Wait, what? Why is that quick a clip? Oh. Oh. Fuck's sake. I'm so confused. Yeah. We'll just have to add it to the montage of clips. Right, so now I know I haven't got a fucking... Well, I'm going to lose this quest line anyway.
Oh,
Might as well finish it.
Got a wager for you. Yeah, I am. We all make a living, so what? Right then, funny cunt.
Thanks.
1,000 tickets says you can't do this. Simple premise. You take this sack to the top of that tower. If you survive,
Oh god,
keep
if...
all the ticks in the footlocker up there.
Hold on, I want to see this clip. What? Fuck's sake. No worries, dude. Thank you so much for dropping in, mate. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I will catch you in another stream. Take it easy, mate. I appreciate that, mate. I really do.
If you don't,
Take care, dude.
well then, it's quite obvious that I win. Now, have you got the foggiest idea what's going on in here, or what? Basically. See? Now
Right,
that's
let's
the
do
spirit.
it.
Now, do you understand the bleeding rules, or don't you? You make your way there. And
Yeah. Come on,
if,
Bucky.
If you bend the rules, or I think you're bending the rules, I'll kill ya.
No, you
If you
won't.
forget where you're going, I'll kill ya.
No, you won't.
In fact,
Nope.
you're going to have to work very hard to stay alive, mate. You have about 30 seconds to pick it up and get moving
Ooh.
before I start shooting. Don't worry, as soon as you start proper, I'll give you some lead.
Lyndon, you're going to have no points to fucking waste at this rate. Oh, I feel so stupid. Maybe if I just do that. Does that help me? It does help me. You didn't lose the bet, technically. There's a grenade right in front of me. That's annoying. That's one more to the tally. At this rate, I am going to be on 30. Tom, what the fuck? Shut up, you. Stop yapping. Well, what do you think? It's a nuclear wasteland, Tom. So my money would be nukes. Oh, man.
Oh, you! Got a wager for you.
No. The Colonials nuked it. Not the Wardens. But the Wardens have only launched like 2 nukes.
Yeah, I am. We all right then, funny, simple. If you don't,
Come on.
now, have you got the foggiest idea what's going on in here?
Yep.
Basically,
You're gonna ask ChatGPT what exactly? Because I don't think it's gonna give you a proper answer. It'll be interesting to see what the answer is. Right. Spare me 2 seconds. Right. Are we going to do it this time? My money's on no. Lyndon, this is going to be where I accumulate all the fucking deaths.
see? Now, if you bend the if you forget, in fact, you have about 30 seconds to pick
Go!
moving before I start shooting. Don't worry, as soon as you start.
What do you mean, yay? Not yay. Bad. Right. First things first. Let's use you. Throw you down there. I missed completely. You fucking idiot. Oh, that was such a waste of rockets.
You're nothing! Nothing! Move!
Move up. I've got you covered.
I hit you. I hit you too.
Pin him down!
Get fucked.
Stubborn, I'll give you that.
No, stop moving around so I can hit you. Thank you. Fucking... Fuck you.
You like the sight of your own blood?
Yes. Get fucked. There's one more person down here, apparently. Oh, he's down there. He's fucked. You can't see now, for sure.
You feel that? It's cold.
I'm gonna do it first, and then I'll fucking loot. We don't need a bin man screaming. What I do need is some fucking luck.
Just run.
Shut up. That's cheating. You mean that one where it froze? Because that was atrocious. I think I'm playing Tarkov. Yeah, that was a a relatively good screenshot by you, Lyndon.
I'm just getting started. Losing people.
Why are you not dying? Now you're dead. Oh, see, that says started. I thought that... I'm an idiot. I read that earlier as, obviously, it was a quest line that I'd fucked up, as failed. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
I've done this hundreds of times. Think this will be any different?
Oh, he's friendly. Okay, let's not destroy that robot.
Drop dead already. Ah!
It did say fail velostomies.
Just give up.
Huh? Hold on, that must be a bug. Oh, okay. So I was doing some intensive reading there. I mean, if you want to post it in there, feel free to. I am curious to see what it is going to post, though. I'm just seeing the chat GPT response. That's funny. Fuck. Oh, you are going to die.
You're still alive? Christ.
I am. Double the coverage. Fuck you, you prick. And you.
Think you're tough. Come on.
Oh, bad time to reload. Very bad time to reload.
Getting tired yet?
Oh, I'm getting a bit frustrated. How do I go
Why
up?
don't you just die?
That's not very nice. How do I go up?
Ain't personal. Just you or me.
I'll activate that afterwards. There's a TARDIS. How the fuck do I get up then? Well, of all the things, we found a TARDIS.
Give up now. I'll make it quick.
Ah, that's where we go up there.
Just getting warmed up over here.
I would not rather become a
Watch 'em
doctor.
out.
That's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. Ow, you fucking arse cunt.
You having fun? I can do this all day.
I don't think you can. You're gonna be dead in a minute. This is gonna fuck me up. Knowing my luck, there's gonna be
You'll run out
someone
of
up
bullets
here
eventually.
that's going to really, really test my patience.
Just had to play hero, huh?
What? Am I here? No, I feel like that's gonna cause it to fail. Because he did say that if he sees any other, well, me trying to bend the rules, he's gonna kill me.
You better be worth it.
What do you mean down?
Going up. Think you can win this, huh?
Okay, well, it turns out there is some way up, but is not the lift. I'm here, no?
Fight, prick.
Who's this bitch? Or is this one of those invisible enemies again?
How much you got left in you?
Oh, she's the boss.
That it?
Oh, I want to do something so stupid. Oh, I haven't got the mine on me. I thought I had the mine. Ow. Bitch.
You're dead. You hear me?
No, 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 no. Oh.
It's called shooting straight, rookie.
Yeah, I just shot you, you daft bitch. Ah.
Lucky hit.
You want a 12 gauge to the face. Oh. I need her body. Oh no, that's fine. I'm good. I don't want to get her body actually. Well, that's all the enemies killed. There's a TARDIS here as well. Oh my god, if I fall. If I fall, I'm not going to be happy. Thank you, Tom. Wait, isn't this where I was? That's a trap. Oh, must be that little bit there. Oh, for fuck me, man. Tom, you're so funny. Am I encumbered? Oh, so why the fuck am I... Oh, there we go.
I thought for sure you were a goner. Yeah, as you can see, there's no reward. I didn't really expect anyone to...
There's no reward. He's going to die.
I'm off. Bye.
You fucking prick. So after all that, I didn't get 1,000. Oh, fucking he is one fucking prick. Well, loot, I guess. Yeah, finally I got scammed. Fucking huzzah. It's not at all annoying. Now, where did that bitch fall? I need her body. Was it down here? That's a bit steep, actually. Ah! Right. So we've got her body to loot, then we've got TARDIS to go and investigate as well. That was somewhere down here. That's her body. Was she the... Yeah. Crude gun. No good. That... I don't think that was her, actually. Did she fall further down? She fell one further down. Right. Where was that TARDIS? Ah, there's the TARDIS. Pingu is related to the penguin. Oh yeah, Tom. Pingu, he is the one who gifted those 18 subs last night. You said you wanted to say thank you to him. Was not going to vanish. No. He did. He indeed dropped off 18 subs to the channel last night. He is an absolute legend. No, I said 18 gifted. I said he gifted you one. Pingu is a fucking legend. Unfortunately, Pingu is not from the UK. Otherwise, I would 100% be offering him to go see Bad Omens. I've got to try and fight for tickets for that. Which I'm not looking forward to. That's going to be one hell of a battle. Though it's nice to see that they've been upgraded. Fuck. We got to 13. There was a reason why we got to 13, Lyndon. I can't remember why. Oh no, because I got blown up by a grenade. That's why. I got obliterated. Well, literally, I got destroyed by a grenade. Well, more importantly, I can't believe that fucking knobhead scammed me. There should be a body around here somewhere. Where's the top of that tower? I did trust the Ginger Ghoul. Probably shouldn't have, but, you know. Someone says to me, here, have 1,000 tickets to go be a goober. I will go be a goober. You're a prick. Alright, let's go get my dog. See, no, I can't really say that, unfortunately. My missus is now ginger. So I do trust gingers. Look at the little boy! It's safe now. Yeah, ATD is not my missus. My missus is... I can't remember her Twitch name. Oh, she's not here anymore. She was here earlier. She was the one who said I've got a penis on my face. No, my missus is Sidious Goose. What are you growling at? No, because I wasn't sure if she was okay with me kind of announcing it. Fucking crazy radshrews. Any ammo? Nope. Right, now we can go through here normally. Fucking hell, I'm not ashamed of her. She is one incredible human being. Oh, we got a level up as well. What shall we go for? I feel like chem resistance could be useful. I know, we've been around, you know, we've been together for 2.5 years. You know, we have been together quite a while. When are we going on one knee? Oh shit, she's not here. She's not here. Hopefully soon. Hopefully. Let's just see how the Twitch streaming comes back, eh? No, wait, probably. I mean, the last time I streamed this was about 8 months ago, 9 months ago. No, because I've been with her for nearly fucking 3 years. No, true.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Fuck you, you daft bitch. You multiply it each time, it's just gonna fucking confuse the hell out of me. As it did confuse me. This is where I'm probably gonna die again. You didn't waste 7 years for this stream. Get fucked with that. 7 years is very excessive. You waited like a few months, alright? Yeah, this is all computer generated. This is all AI. Wasn't 5? What, wait, has it been 5? You know what? It might have been 5 years. It might have been 5 years, actually. Yeah, you might be right on that one. Fucking hell, this is a bit fucking juicy. Here, have an Onyx cocktail. Yeah, your head.
Why do they always gotta fight back?
Because I'm not just gonna let you just win, am I?
Blood.
Was it 2019? Jesus. Is that how long I've known you?
You gotta reload sometime, arsehole.
Well, that's not very nice. Who the fuck are you shooting at? Where are you? Hello? Oh, there you are.
You've got to be joking.
Still kicking. Jesus.
I can't even remember why I actually asked you to cat sit for me. Was I a download?
I've got all day.
I have a feeling I was at download, which is why I should cat sit for me. How the fuck do I get up to you? Ah, yes, I went to Amsterdam. That's why. Yeah, that makes sense. Pay attention to my own life. I'm locked out. Great. Yeah, see, Tom knows more about my life than I know about myself. Herbs. Wrath. Ours. Happy. When I first knew Tom, he was a chef, right? I used to purposely go into his kitchen and piss him off.
Playing games with me, huh?
Well, I'm trying to get into your little special room. I'm so shit at fucking at those things. I just love how my dog's up there without me somehow. He fucking levitated. And there's me trying to get in. Yeah, and you gave me COVID that year, you fucker. Hates. Value. Gangs. Here's. Ah. Right, okay. I'm going to do this properly.
No need to hide. It'll all be over soon.
Yeah, see, sharing is caring. Also, keep your lurgy to yourself. Yes, send me that as a message.
Trying to sneak up on.
In fact, no, fuck it. Have a go now. Have a guess. What do we think, guys? I'm going to guess first. Where's Decay? Likeliness is 1. You reckon Miles? Likeliness? Taken. Nope. Last guess. Italy. Italy's in here. Oh yeah, Italy is there. Well, we're locked out. That's right, guys. GG's. My poor dog is getting fucking destroyed. We should have a terminal fucking counter. Meats. I'm trying to get to the dog. Delay. Front. Oh, 2. God damn it, ATD.
I'm coming for your dog next.
I'm coming. Ah. Right, let's give it another go. Adobe. No. We used to be like duds, but we don't have duds in this, which is really annoying. You reckon Stark? Likeliness is 2. What do you reckon? You reckon Stead? Where's Stead? Success! Nuke for you! Nice work, Pingu. You know what's even more annoying? I didn't even have to go in there.
Everything's starting to sound. What the fuck was that?
Oh, no, I thought I did actually. Hold on.
You hear that?
I mean, there's more than you in the chat, Lyndon. Learn. That nuke is pretty cool, isn't it? I'm gonna make one. So if there's any gifs or subs, the entire screen just blows up.
The fuck was that?
No. Lyndon knows the rule. Oh.
End of the line.
I didn't even have to go up. Well, now I feel stupid. Sorry, dog.
Where'd that fucker go?
You better be worth it.
Can't see. Should have just run.
Oh. It bounced. Hello there.
Ain't nothing.
Yeah, it's literally, you meant to simulate hacking, but it's literally just guesswork. There used to be a way where you can like take out duds, which are like fake words, and then it just gives you a slightly better chance of getting it right first time.
Playing games with me, huh?
I'm not a horrific streamer. How dare you? I'm a delightful streamer. You guys bully me, I bully you back. That's how this works, isn't it? Oh, Lyndon. Never change. No comment on that one, Tom.
Yeah, keep running.
No worries, Pingu. Thanks very much for dropping in, mate.
What the hell was that?
I will be streaming tomorrow as well.
What the fuck was that?
So I will catch you tomorrow, dude.
The fuck was that?
What?
No, mate.
Must have a concussion.
The fuck was that?
Seeing thing. The fuck was that?
If it's those bloody commuters again.
Wait, what?
Come out, wherever you are.
Hey.
The fuck was that?
Yeah, I'm not that good at terminals, to be honest with you. I've always been quite bad at them.
Who's out there?
Just nice. Scared, are you?
Like, it's very uncommon for me to get them right.
What the hell was that?
Bah,
Shit,
getting
this is
shook up over
bollocks.
nothing.
How much longer for me, Lyndon? Is that what you're asking?
The fuck was that?
'Cause I'm not too sure how long. What time? I don't know what time it is. What time is it? It's only 9:30, so probably another half hour to an hour.
Pack it in. There's nothing to see here. Who's there? Bloody chems. Can't see straight. What was that?
The fuck was that?
What?
Shut the fuck up a second.
Fuck was that?
Oh man, come back! I was having fun. I swear I must be losing.
Die.
What the?
Oh. Oh yeah, I forgot your missus will lap you, and that's your Tom. Pingu's a legend. Oh my god. Oh my god.
You'll fucking pay for that. I've done this hundreds of times. I've lied. Yeah.
Oh fuck. There's 14. I know to say fuck. That's well, it's the same as oh dear. I've got to do all that again.
Yeah.
Don't quit, do you?
Why would you have to learn Russian, Lyndon? I didn't realise in Poland you learn Russian.
You're still alive. Christ.
Go on, doggo. Ah, fair enough. I know a bit of German, not much though. And no real need to learn it.
Nothing. Damn it.
Or hit them then.
Playing games with me, huh?
Just had to play hero, huh?
You're getting paranoid. There ain't nothing here.
Well, no, there is something here. It's me.
Yeah.
Fuck was that?
Stubborn. I'll
Tickets, please. Tickets. Oh, I need to catch up here. I don't know what you're all talking about. What are you talking about? Obviously, Tom speaking something Polish or German regarding cheese. I'm guessing anyway. I don't actually know.
Shit. Lost him.
Get out of there! Yeah! Choke on blood!
How did I miss that close? That's not at all freaky. He's like one of his kids. Hey, you got games on your phone?
Lucky hit!
Just die.
Alright, come on then. Hello. Honestly, straight over my head. I'm just playing.
Ain't personal. Just you
I don't know who's shooting me.
or me.
That's pretty cool. Alright, calm down, Tom.
You having fun?
Jesus. Okay, I get it. It's big. How are you shooting me through there? Love how you're just speaking in your own languages now. Don't mind me. I'm just being a goober.
You like the sight of your own blood?
Are you dead? Yeah, you are. Yes. I'm just going to say yes. 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 Ah, I could have hacked the robot.
You feel that? It's called fear.
You two, you do. You two do you. I don't know what the fuck you're on about.
You gotta reload sometime, asshole.
Ow. That was a big ouchie. 17 giraffes.
Drop dead already.
Don't mind me, guys. I'm just being a goober. Why have pigeons entered the conversation?
Give up now.
Something about a tram. I'm just taking assumptuous guesses. They shoots me from the ceiling. Yeah, we are. Okay, so I need to go up.
Still kicking. Jesus.
What are you guys on about now? I'm seeing Borat. Oh, fuck. I'm seeing Borat fucking being mentioned. You've never seen Borat? No, I'm just being an onyx here, alright? I'm just trying to play a video game. Trying to understand what the fuck you guys are on about.
Fire in the hole. Wait till you just died.
Wait, I thought I just killed you. Come here. Plasma infused service rifle. Fuck, that's a bit of me. I think we haven't done it. Not yet.
Come on, tough guy.
There's
Come
one
on.
more enemy somewhere. There he is. And that is that. That is that. Done. Ah. Oh, damn it. Looks like it's too difficult. I don't think so. How are you frying? What? Yeah, see, every time I've worked with polls, it's always the swear words I've learned. Like, kurwa. That's my favourite. Fuck. Fucking picklock. Ooh, more goodies. Doggo, come here. Stop moving. Nah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just swearing in a different language. I believe anyway. No, my luck. I probably would get hit by fucking TOC. TOS, not TOC. Right, I think I've fully looted this place. I don't think there's anything else I can grab. Apart from tickets, of course. See, there's only one Polish string I can't handle, and that's Grasovka. Ugh, that stuff's just not nice. Brutal. Yeah, I think we're done here. No, it's a certain brand of vodka. I mean, I could be mispronouncing it, but I'm pretty sure it is Grasovka. But it's, my god, it's so strong. It's not the percentage that does it to me. It's the taste. I don't know. It's more harsher, I think. I think that's what it is. Yeah, and it's fucking. It's just nuclear. Like, you could quite easily run a car off it, I think. Right, I need to just nip to the loo quick, guys. I will be 2 minutes. Keep the alcohol conversation flowing. And I will be right back. cat wanted to say hello. Oh, a fluffy one. Right. Heal up a bit. Oh, fuck. I want to fast travel out of here, but I can't with enemies around me. Alakazam. Wait, what? You literally fully have. I'm just kind of letting you guys vibe. But it's fun. It pretty much is. I mean, there's gameplay. Get fucked, Tom. There's quality gameplay going on. No, see, that's what I have to interject with you, Lyndon. It's all about whiskey. No, whiskey is fucking delightful. I fucking love me a whiskey. I don't mind rum as much. What I don't like about rum. I got more whiskey. Nice. I'm a bit dry at the moment with whiskey. I don't have a lot in.
Just move along.
What do you mean just move along?
Keep moving. I'm warning you. Back off.
Where are you? You silly twat. Ah! Fucking toxic retros. Yes, that's the only problem with rum, is that it is literally just pure sugar. Tom. That is the most you thing to say. I expect nothing less of Tom. Uh oh, he's found an emote. I love that emote. They are expensive. Alright. What I'm thinking, guys, is we will return this quest, then probably call it there for the night. And then I'll work on some bits so you can all gamble into your heart's content.
Mind the gap and all that.
That's a trippy fucking message, Tom. Holy fuck. It's not bits you need to save. It's the kilobytes, actually. But I might change them to caps, to be honest. I might have to increase that target. Because... Oh, I put 25,000, not 12,000. Okay, that's fine. I'll leave it as it is. Well, that just makes me feel even more special, Lyndon. I mean, I'm fucking epileptic now. Oh, Tom, that reminds me. Are you going to be trying to get Bad Omens tickets? Okay, because if you want, I've got 4 different pre-sale codes. So if you want, I don't mind getting the tickets and you give me the money back. I presume you'll want Nottingham seating.
How's it going?
Yeah, but I've never failed to get a gig ticket in my life.
Excellent. Great work. Here's your signed endorsement, as promised.
Thank you very
The
much.
people of Camden owe you a debt. Actually,
See, I didn't fail on
come to
Oasis.
think of it,
I
now we
got
have
other
these,
people ticking.
I can spare
I got
these.
other people tickets.
Good as it is, truth be told, I'd rather be shot of it. Gift from Malcolm, you see. Once again, thanks. And don't be a stranger.
Ooh, that looks fun. An unfold. Wow, okay, so we've got a dual magazine, rail glow, a compensator, automatic, and a nice little camo pattern. It's pretty sick. Pretty happy with that. Give it a go. I want to see what that's like. We actually picked up quite a few decent guns here, actually. Oh, yeah. But now I need more 40mm. Right. Let's just get rid of a gun. You take the flame out. Right. On that note, though, I am going to call it a night because I want to work on some things behind the scenes. If you are new and you want to keep up with the stream and the channel and vice versa, join the Discord. Might be lurkers lurking around. Might not be. No obligation. It is in my inventory already, Tom. But what we are going to do is find somebody to lead. So let's take a look. See who's owned on Fallout. Oh, we do a... No, we did them yesterday. You are being kidnapped. I'm going to send you to someone else. This guy was pretty funny when I watched him earlier, actually. And I know for a fact Tom will love listening to this guy talk. Casual lefty, always. But yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out. I will be on tomorrow. Probably around the same time, so 6 p.m. There will be goodies for you to fuck around with, to waste your money on. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Cheers, guys. Catch you all later.